everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jen. I'm going to be hosting here. We're going to be talking about we're going to be exploring stablecoins on Celo. Um, Last time we all got together, we're going to do a little recap here. Let's first start off with introductions, and then we'll get into the recap because I'm really excited to have Markus back with us. Glenn, thank you so much for joining me again. Markus, let's backtrack. I get ahead of myself here when I get excited. Would you mind introducing yourself for all of our viewers?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back here, Jen. Really excited to be here. My name is Markus. I'm working on Mento. Mento is a platform for local currency stablecoins. I've been building in that space for the past 7 years, started to build on Celo from like day one. And with Mento now we have like a dedicated platform for local currency stablecoins. We have like a bunch of different currencies on Mento. There's recently a Kenyan shilling and a Philippine peso have been added. We are now actually currently in the process of adding a Ghanaian cedi and a Colombian peso. So really exciting currencies that actually also create a bunch of exciting trading opportunities. And I think this is something we want to chat about a bit more today. So yeah, very, very happy to talk more.
Well, thank you so much. The last time we had you on was right after you guys had released the Philippine peso. So it seems like things are moving along quite nicely if you're already working on introducing 2 more. It hasn't been that long since you've been with us.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are shipping quite fast. In the end, there is like a big need for many different use cases for local currency stablecoins. So, for example, people in many different countries want to get a loan in local currency stablecoins. So basically, micro lending, micro credit, but also micro funding are important use cases where people can use local currency stablecoins. It's nice for people that if they want to go from their local currency into, for example, a dollar stablecoin back and forth, they can also do that on the same platform. So like many different use cases here, also remittances, saving, and then of course also all sorts of trading use cases. So yeah, we're pretty excited that now we are already able to add more currencies here.
Well, and it's funny too, because I think on our last call, well, Glenn, let's have you introduce yourself as well. And then we're going to bring this all together here.
Sure. My name is Glenn. I'm with Bancor. On the business side, we are building Carbon DeFi, which is an on-chain trading protocol, right? We launched on Ethereum last year, and our goal is to essentially take this everywhere, right? We launched on Ethereum. Now it's on a few different blockchains, Celo being one of them. So excited to essentially be working with the Celo community and obviously making this product available to traders within the Celo ecosystem. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I guess we can get started again.
Glenn, you said building Carbon DeFi. I know that the simulator, which we're going to be showcasing today, was recently added to the Celo deployment. Are there additional features and things that are going to be introduced in the future? I won't ask for specifics, but when you say building, like actively continuing to build out the product?
Yeah, so the simulator came up recently. Essentially, this was something that we just needed pricing data in order to actually be able to backtest some of the trading strategies, right? So we do have accurate pricing data now on Celo, I would say. So a lot of the tokens that people are typically trading on Celo, some of the stable coins, and even non-stablecoin tokens, right? We have that pricing data, so we can essentially backtest trading strategies now. And this is quite useful because there's certain trading pairs that might not have an on-chain liquidity pool, right? In which case, it's kind of difficult for you to trade these two tokens if you don't have pricing data. So what we do on the back end is essentially there should be like a common token or a common trading pair. So for example, this might be your US dollar fiat-backed stablecoin or even the Celo token. And if they have like a common token in between, we can essentially stitch these two price charts together and then give you a price chart that you can actually used to create a trading strategy. So this is like the beauty of Carbon, in the sense that even though the tokens that you're trading, they might not have a direct on-chain trading pair, as long as there's liquidity for these two tokens, the protocol will go and source that liquidity once your order is in range. So yeah.
Glenn, when you say trading, and maybe it'll help too, I think you're going to bring your screen up for us so we can kind of have that visual. But I know when I first got into DeFi, when I thought of trading, I thought of a, more just so buying and or selling a token, right? I guess if you're buying or selling one too, but buying and selling a token, just like this one-time sort of thing, I'm trading my token. You're talking about more active sorts of strategies, right? Can I bring your screen up? I see that you've shared it here at the bottom.
Yeah, you can bring up my screen here. I'll have it here on the simulator, so we can take a look at this new feature that we recently launched on Celo. So we have the pricing data now, so you can actually use it. Let me know if you can see that screen.
We can. And Markus, I know that some of these that Glenn is using, I know that when the simulator was first introduced, it was the Kenyan shilling that was highlighted for the example in that announcement, right? So if any of these are, Mento tokens and you want to speak a little bit more to them and to the holders or to those communities on how they can use them and the significance of these different trading pairs and, ROIs even, right? The results of this, please just jump in.
Absolutely. Super excited to see it here live. No, I will jump in. Really
Cool.
Exciting.
Okay, Glenn, let's see what you got here.
Perfect. So
walk us through.
Yeah, I'll guess I'll start with maybe like just a regular trading pair, I would say, right? So maybe we do let me see, some Celo Real, right? And then we can do this against CEUR, Celo Euro, right? I would say this is essentially a trading pair, right? Just two fiat-backed stablecoins, right? Brazilian real and then the euro, right? We can essentially pick time here, right? Something like 30 days. You can sort of see what this chart looks like on the last 30 days. 90 days, right? Essentially up to you, right? What you want to look at when it comes to the actual time ranges, right? But what's useful here is if you're doing like we'll start with a recurring strategy. This is something that we called a buy low, sell high strategy on Carbon. Essentially, you can sort of, from the actual chart here, you can move around the ranges and then the pricing will update in real time here on the left. So for example, let's say we're looking to buy down here, right?
Glenn, really fast. This pricing, you said that if there is history for the tokens and the pairs, and I don't know if you mentioned this specifically, so I apologize if I missed it. But this is using real historic data, right? This is why you're able to, this is why it was introduced when it was, because you had gathered that information.
Right. So
for these tokens,
the data,
right?
Yeah, the data that we are using here, it's essentially being pulled on chain from a few different protocols. UniV3 being one of them. This has been indexed, and essentially any trading pairs that exist on UniV3, right? We can get that pricing data, right? So there's a few other dexes also on Celo that the actual vendor that we're using, they're also pulling that data from. And then obviously we can then utilize that data on the actual simulator. So all of this data, this pricing data is coming directly from on-chain liquidity pools.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. So here I've just selected, I guess, these two ranges for buying and selling, right? And then you can see here on the left-hand side, it has updated, right? And then what you can do here is you can essentially pick the amount of funding that you're going to set aside, right? So for buying C-Real at, at a low price, right? We can say, okay, we're going to contribute a certain amount of euros here. Maybe that is something like €5, right? And then we can do the same thing on the other side. We can contribute some Brazilian reals as well, right? So here I'm funding both orders, right? That doesn't necessarily have to be true, right? You can fund one order or the other, right? But
I see that it says optional when you don't have anything in there. It says optional, so you don't have to do both.
right? You don't have to fund both. What I'm doing right now, it's because I'm not sure if the price is going to go up or down, right? So if it goes up, either selling. If it goes down, I'm buying, right? In this case, I'm not sure what's going to happen next. So this is why I'm funding both orders. But if I think that the actual market is going to go down, right, what I can do is I can fund my buy order, the one down here, right? And then wait for that buy order to get filled. And then my euros here will get transformed or swapped into real, right? And whatever real I acquired will then be made available for selling at a higher price point, and vice versa, right? If I acquire, if I swap the C real for C euros, right, that euros is now going to move over to this other order, which is going to buy at a lower price point. So you can do either order. You can fund both. Up to you what you want to do, right? But keep in mind that this trading strategy, once created, will trade forever until you decide to stop it. So this thing will go on, and as long as your orders are in range, right, they will keep buying and selling, right? So we're gonna run this simulation, see how that looks, and then potentially, we'll get some results here, right?
Oh, here it goes. Okay.
Yeah, so this one, essentially, this is the CEUR trading pair. Keep in mind that we're denominating here in euros, right? So this ROI here is denominated in euros, right? So this is essentially the ROI that we would get. If we ran,
and that's in 3 months.
That's in the
last 90 days.
The last 90 days. So August 2nd to October 30th. This is what we're doing, right? And this ROI is essentially, had you just hodl the euro, right, in your wallet, not done any trading strategies, right, versus how much you would be up at the end of this time period. We can see a more detailed summary over here, where the hodl value is essentially this orange line here, right? And then the portfolio value, what you ended up with, is this like blue cyan line up here, right?
Now, so this is, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, Markus, correct me if I'm wrong, but C Euro, was that the first token? What was the first one? I know you told me on the last call. Was it CUSD and then C Euro followed?
Yes, the dollar was the first one, the euro was then the second one, and actually the Brazilian real here was the third one. So basically it's now out of the first three, we have two here in this trading pair. And I think this tool is super exciting for traders. If you look in traditional FX markets, this is huge, or these are huge markets. There's huge volumes actually off-chain in these currency pairs. And the most exciting trading strategies are actually those that we, for example, just saw here, like range-based trading in FX is a huge trading strategy in on-chain or in FX markets in general. Hedging, arbitrage trading, trend following, news-based trading, all of these are big strategies in the FX market. And what we've seen here, this range-based trading, I think this is a big trading strategy in these types of assets. And then now bringing this on chain, on Celo, using here the Carbon DeFi markets, using the simulator, I think this is really exciting, because it expands the range of tools now traders have at hand to actually engage in these markets. So I'm really excited to see this here.
Thank you. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, what I was going to say, ranges on Carbon DeFi are quite interesting. This is essentially, you pick a start price and an end price, and essentially when the extra market price starts going into this range, you're slowly buying or selling off that token, right? And this is quite interesting because we're essentially on the back end of Carbon. We're still using bonding curves, right? So typically on a centralized exchange, if you want to have a range order, you would end up creating either hundreds or thousands of limit orders between two actual prices, right? Versus on Carbon is a single bonding curve that's continuous liquidity, right? So this is why it's a little bit more elegant. And I would say because we have bonding curves, we can essentially do this, right? On chain, something that does not exist on a centralized trading venue, right? You can essentially create a bunch of limit orders to try to get something like what we're doing on Carbon with range orders, but it's not quite the same.
I forgot I was muted for a second. Sorry. No, it's so true. And I think there's different definitions of that. So I appreciate you actually like kind of explaining this a little bit, the Carbon DeFi way.
Yeah, correct. And like in real life, I would say a lot of the time
in real life.
Yeah, like, well, I would say, in general, right? A lot of the times when you're sort of trading, right, you might say, okay, I want to, for example, sell my ETH at a certain price point or my BTC at a certain price point. Maybe you have some goal in mind. Let's say your goal is, okay, BTC goes to 100,000. That's when I want to sell, right? But let's say maybe BTC goes up to like 99,999, right?
Which
so
is,
it doesn't quite go to 100,000. So you never sold your BTC in this cycle because you missed it by $1, right? And this is where it's painful because if the market retraces and you didn't sell because you missed by $1, well, you might have to wait for another cycle, and that might be like 1 or 2 years. With a range order, right, what you can do is you can have a sell order that slowly starts selling at a certain price point. And that might be like 90,000. And your end price point when you stop selling, it's at 100,000. So even though BTC doesn't go all the way up to 100,000, you end up selling the majority of your BTC between 90,000 and 99,999, right? So this way, you essentially do not miss selling the actual top, right? And for those that are, I would say, a little bit more mathematically savvy, if you want to understand, like, okay, what is the actual execution price in a range order on Carbon?
Are you getting technical on me?
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit technical. So it's just like the geometric mean of the start and end price. So you take 90,000 times 100,000, and then you take the square root of that. That is the average execution price. So this is how range orders work on Carbon.
Well, and here's the thing, really quickly, and then I want you to keep giving us examples because it's nice to see, you know what I mean, like actually explore it. And I encourage everybody, you can see celo.carbondefi.xyz/simulate on the bottom of the screen to go on. It's on desktop only at the moment. I say that hoping to see it on mobile soon, but I encourage everybody to go in and just create different trading pairs and see what this actually is. Glenn, something that we have a trading call on Tuesdays, and Keith Allen, who is a professional, like full-time trader, was saying he was playing with the simulator, and it was something that made me think of that. He was playing with it and realized that timing the top, if he just moves those ranges down a little bit, he was actually able to do way more with his capital. And this was something that he had learned from the simulator, not having to guess and check with actual funds, like real funds, but almost just through back testing, like almost like a paper trading sort of thing, right?
Sure. So yeah, I have a strategy. I can walk a little bit more details here. I wanted to say that one of the things about Celo that's kind of nice, and what Markus is building with his product, is essentially making all of these different fiat-backed currencies available on chain. It's something that you typically do not see on other blockchains, or it's hard to actually find good liquidity for some of these coins. And the other thing I was going to mention is, like, this is one of like the use cases of blockchains, right? It's a problem that actually blockchains tend to solve, and I'm happy that actually Celo is taking like a focus on this or in this area.
Thank you so much. No, that is, I like completely share the excitement here. Celo really has become a place for stablecoins more and more. There are many different features of the Celo blockchain that enable this. Fast transactions and cheap gas fees are some of these features. And this is why you see these local currency Mento stablecoins on Celo now finally starting to grow, like the Kenyan shilling or the Philippine peso. But this is also why the large like dollar-based stablecoins, like for example USDT, came to Celo and launched on Celo, and this is now the exciting thing here. You can now do all of these trades, and you can even now simulate all of these trades, like in between all of these different assets that are live. And I think on Celo, when it comes to stablecoins, you probably have the broadest range of stablecoins that are live, and that you can trade. So yeah, really, really exciting addition here for traders.
You say like the broadest range. I don't really see a huge range on many others. Nothing like Celo. Nothing like, you know, especially hearing now that we've got some more, as the Celo community, have some more on their way out. Glenn, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, you're, I was going to say, I agree with all those statements.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me share here. So I'm gonna sort of go through this animation, and then we can sort of see the balances here. I started with 25 and 5 here, so 5 euros, 25 reals, and then we can sort of see as the price is going into our ranges, what's happening to our token balances down here. So here we are. So here we're essentially buying low. So this green one is us buying, right? So we're buying reals, right? We use some euros to buy some reals, right? And we can keep going. That balance, you can see it's incrementing a little bit. And at this point, essentially, we sold all of our reals, right? 2 euros, right? We sold high, right? And you can see as it went, price went into a range, right? We sold off the reals. And as we go in the opposite direction now, right, we're going to sort of see something happen here. Pricing is not in our range yet, not in our range, not in our range, not in our range.
Glenn, am I looking at this right? So those white peaks there that I'm seeing, this is the price chart. This is moving all the way up, right? So if you look at that, you're like, oh man, I didn't time the top twice.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay, but here, like if you had hodled it, right? I mean, the chances of actually timing the top slim to none. I'm going to say that not as an experienced trader, but you know, even the traders on my trading calls, timing the top is a difficult thing, which is why we see them scaling in or scaling out of a position, right? Or the bottom, I should say. But even still, not having caught the tops here, we're still at a positive 7, plus 7 something percent ROI in that 90 days.
Correct. So yeah, I mean the range orders here are quite useful for scaling in and scaling out, like what you're saying, right? So timing the top or the bottom is probably like impossible, I would say. And like you said, like most advanced traders, they'll tell you this, right? You have to sort of have a plan on hand as to how you're gonna sort of buy and sell tokens in advance, and then stick to that, right? But on Carbon, what we're showing you here is, okay, as the as the price went into your sell range, this red, I would say this red area here was essentially turned gray. So you essentially sold off all your tokens, right? And then what you can see is now the buy order here has been funded with the tokens that were sold, right? And as the pricing now is going into our buy order, this green bar down here, you can see that our sell order is now getting funded. So that red line here, or this red area here, is getting a little bit wider, right? So we see that behavior down here. We are essentially acquiring some reals and euros as well as this is happening, and we can keep this animation going, and you can see the token balance change. Here was balance where we sold off all of the reals that we acquired, right? And then we got more euros, and eventually we'll sell all of these euros. Let me just see when that will happen. For reals, looks like at the end we bought some reals as well, right? So this is what ends up happening behind the scenes. But from this simulation, what we can do is, okay, we are happy with this ROI. We thought, or we think that we picked some good ranges here for buying low, selling high. What we can do is we can go ahead and create a strategy. right? And that entire simulation and those fields that we picked will get transferred to this section now, right? And in here, we can essentially create strategy. I have some reals in this wallet. I'm gonna just use 25, right? Down here, it's telling me that I'm choosing to buy reals above the current market price, right? So what I can do here, I can sort of lower this a little bit. Let me do that right now.
So you can lower it a little bit, or you can choose to not add any
funding.
Right. So you've got your two options there.
Right, but this warning is quite useful, right? Because essentially, the goal here is to buy low, sell high. You definitely do not want to do the opposite, right? Where you are essentially, I guess, buying high, selling low, right? That would lose you money. But this is why we have some warnings in place, right? If you mistakenly, for example, try to sell the token below the current market price, like it will tell you, hey, the price of this is higher or is higher than what you're trying to sell at, right? Are you sure you want to do that, right? And you can then decide, right? You might have like an actual reason why you want to like sell below the market price, for example. There could be a legitimate reason if you have like large token quantities, right? And you sort of want to like pressure the market to come to you. Certainly, you can do that, right? But we'll give you that warning regardless, just so that you're aware of what's going on, right? So once we have our strategy here and we picked our price points and our funding, we can go ahead and create this strategy, right? Obviously, I got to do some approvals here from my end. Once I do those approvals, I can essentially go ahead and have that strategy created. Let's do this real quick. And because Celo is a very...
I love how you practice Save DeFi here on display for all of us.
Yeah, because Celo is a low cost, I would say high throughput chain, right? It's typically very easy to interact with, and essentially transactions that you're submitting, right, they will get confirmed relatively quick, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna go through this process on my end and then show you guys this live. Good. So that was one transaction approval. Do the other approval as well. And after my approvals are done here, I should be able to create my strategy. And then
So once your strategy is live, it'll just continue as long as you're within those ranges. It will continue to do that sort of buying low, selling high, right? What if you want to change your ranges?
Right, changing your ranges, it's quite easy, right? For us, essentially, changing your ranges is just editing that strategy, right? And there's a few things that you can do under each strategy. You can update the ranges. You can also update the funding. So if you want to add more funds to your strategy, you can do that. You can withdraw funds. For example, if you want to take some profits that you made, you can certainly do that, right? And then the other thing is you can also like pause, right? So pausing the strategy here means that, okay, I'm not sure what the market is going to do, right? So I actually want to pause my strategy and think about things. And then obviously after you do your thinking, right, you can come back to your strategy. You can edit the prices, the funding, and then essentially unpause that strategy. But you can see here the different options that you have available for modifying that strategy once it has been created. So this one is actually live now, right? It has about $10 worth of funding, 25 reals, and then 5 euros, right?
So you can just see the whole overview there. Go ahead. I want to see a Kenyan shilling.
This overview one here, you can certainly look at the overview, right? Once this strategy has activity, it will actually show you here. So I can show you actually, let me explore a Celo. What do we have here? Celo Euro. Let me look at this one. This one should have some trades. So here, this is an example. So this is a strategy on Carbon. It has a few different trades that have occurred. Actually, so we have 1,025 pages. Each page is about 10 items. So roughly over 10,000 trades this strategy has generated, right? So this will be tracked for you. And then obviously you can always export this trading data for that strategy and then use that for whatever purpose you need. But yeah,
10,000 trades is a lot of trades. What is the actual strategy maker paying? What sort of trading fees are they paying?
Right.
Are they paying for any of those?
No, so there's a few things, right? On Carbon, like you saw me creating a strategy, I only had to pay the actual blockchain gas fees to create that strategy, right? Outside of that, there are no fees. If you're creating a strategy on Carbon, essentially you don't have to pay anything besides the actual cost to actually have that transaction go through on the blockchain.
Or if they want to edit the prices, like you were saying earlier, right?
Right. That would also count as a modification to your strategy. So obviously you would have to pay a fee for having that transaction essentially be submitted to the blockchain, right? But yeah, all of these trades that you're seeing here, because Carbon essentially once that strategy is created, those orders are put on chain. At that point in time, on the other side, right, there is a taker, someone that wants to actually
trade against your strategy, right?
Yeah, trade against your strategy, right? And that could be an individual. It could be someone that's swapping through an aggregator. For example, OpenOcean has support for Celo, right? Or it could be someone that's doing like on-chain arbitrage in an automatic fashion, right? They might have some programming expertise, right? They might have built some sort of a bot or something like this, and they're essentially trading different across different trading venues, trying to close arbitrage opportunities, and they certainly can't take Carbon orders because they're posted on chain.
Well, somebody is certainly making use of your token here, Markus, and I would think that they
Absolutely.
would be happy because I'm looking at 24, almost 25% ROI. Glenn, how long has Carbon DeFi been on Celo? How long has this strategy been live? I know you said about 10,000 trades. But
Yes.
Is it possible to see when they actually started this so that, back testing is wonderful, but when you can go and see that someone has had this,
For sure.
going for so long?
So this one, so October 30th, that's the current date. If you go to the last page, we should be able to figure out when this strategy was created, right? So let me see here, somewhere around October 18th, right?
What?
So October 30th, October 18th.
Less than 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's about like 2 weeks for this. So this is a concentrated liquidity position, right? What we did previously, the sample that I showed you was a recurring strategy. This is 2 ranges, one for buying, one for selling.
Yeah.
This is a concentrated liquidity position where you have 2 ranges as well, but these 2 ranges are overlapping, right? So this is what we call a concentrated liquidity position. I can certainly show you what that looks like. Now let me go back to the simulator here.
I'm really surprised that this was like 12 days ago. I was thinking in my head of when Bancor deployed Carbon on Celo. And I was thinking, okay, 2 months, 3 months, something along those lines. I wasn't expecting that to be 12 days ago.
But that's the exciting thing about the super low gas fees. So you actually can do a lot of trades, and it still is like a super profitable trading strategy. And then you have like a range of interesting assets that you can actually get super creative with this tool. I'm not a pro trader, and I can't give any like financial advice, but you can get like super creative here. You could form expectations on future interest rates and then perform a carry trade and then set ranges for these currencies where you do that carry trade in. So as a trader, you can get really, really creative. You can have a lot of trades because the fees are so low. And then you can have like a really, really exciting strategy here.
Glenn, how creative can they get? I mean, are you limited to which tokens you can pair here on the simulator on Carbon DeFi?
Yeah, pretty much any ERC 20 tokens are fair game, or any tokens that have a similar standard, right? So I would say the only issues that we have, and this is not just Carbon, but other DeFi protocols in general, is if the token is a tax token, so meaning that it has a fee on transfer, or rebases, right? Meaning that the quantity of that token when you actually hold it somewhere will change, right? So these two types of tokens are problematic in general. But anything else, it's fair game. So you can trade anything else on Carbon, right? So here I'm trading Celo against CUSD, popular trading pair, right? A lot of the stuff tend to be denominated in US dollars in DeFi, right? So Celo, obviously the blockchain token, right? I'm showing here a concentrated liquidity position. You can sort of see that I've picked a range here between 0.65 and 0.80. I think this channel here is where most of the price action has happened for this trading pair in the past 30 days, right? So I've gone ahead and picked that channel. And essentially what I can do here that you cannot do on other concentrated liquidity solutions is set a custom fee, right? On Carbon, we do not restrict you to preset fee tiers. So for this one, because I do think this tends to be relatively like volatile token pair, I'm going to actually set a higher fee, and I'm going to make that 3%, right? And then down here, I can select how much tokens I'm going to essentially add to the strategy, right? So we'll do some Celo, maybe let me do 20 here to start the simulation, see what that looks like. So this is Celo against CUSD. Past 30 days, right? ROI roughly 12%. Denominated.
That's on top of HODL, right?
Yeah, correct. And this is denominated in CUSD, right? So the ROI is essentially denominated always in the token that you select for that trading pair. So keep that in mind, right? So this is, I would say, a popular trading pair on Celo. We'll go ahead and do the same thing that we did before, where for this concentrated liquidity solution, we can create a strategy, right? The other thing I should point out here as I'm going through this process is that the fees that you're earning, or AKA spread, as we like to call it, right? In Carbon, when you're using a concentrated liquidity strategy, they will auto compound back directly into your strategy. So they do not go in a separate bucket or location where you have to do this manually, right? So this does save you that time, effort, and even like money, right? For you not having to do this because it happens automatically. So let me go ahead and select my range here, concentrated 0.65 to 0.8, right? It's telling me that the current market price is 0.668822. And then our fee here is going to be 3, right? And we're going to contribute here. Let me see here. I have some Celo. I have some CUSD. I need to, if I do $10 of that, it's going to say I'm going to need 104. So let me go in the opposite direction, do 20. Great. So if I do 20 Celo for this strategy, right, that's $13. It's also telling me that I'll need to deposit roughly 1.18 CUSD. So because this is concentrated liquidity, right, my start and end price here is in between the current price. I will need to contribute some amount of Celo plus CUSD. So I'll go ahead, create this strategy. I'm happy with that. Need to do an approval here like I did before.
Glenn, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to make a request when you're done.
Sure. After this, I can take a request.
Thank you.
And then the other thing that we can do here, a more advanced, I would say, maybe I'll talk about it. Not sure if I have time to create it, but you saw me create a concentrated liquidity position, and that was between two price points, right? And essentially, this is useful because that concentrated liquidity position that I created, or I'm about to create, right, is trading in a channel where most of the price action has occurred. What I can also do is I can create another strategy under that same trading pair, right? And then I can flank that concentrated liquidity position with a buy order and a sell order on
Oh,
each.
maybe this will be like a step 2. I feel like here's phase 1. What
Right.
was that? What did I do that I got balloons? I feel like this is the phase 1 where we can introduce the simulator, and then maybe if you wouldn't mind joining me for like another follow-up, we can kind of get into more like advanced strategy making.
For sure. So yeah, that would be the advanced strategy, right? So this is the concentrated liquidity position, right? And then what I was saying was that, okay, you can also do a recurring strategy. Let me go back to the simulator here, past 30 days, just to show you what I mean, right? A recurring strategy can then be 2 ranges that are flanking our concentrated liquidity position. So I believe we did 0.65 to 0.80, right? So maybe our recurring strategy is going to be somewhere, let me see, 0.9, just do 0.9, 0.8. So this will start essentially selling at 0.8, which is the edge of our concentrated liquidity position. And then on the bottom, it will start buying on the other edge. So it's going to be 0.5 to 0.65, right? So 0.5, 0.65. So 0.65 was the bottom of our concentrated liquidity position. 0.8 was the top of that concentrated liquidity position. And it's essentially this gap here. That was the concentrated liquidity position. And then you have these 2 orders on either side now that are flanking your concentrated liquidity position. So what this means is that, okay, if you're in range, your concentrated liquidity position is in range, you're buying and selling within that that range. When you're out of range, all of a sudden now you're capturing that volatility via this recurring order, which is either buying low on the downside and then selling high on the upside. So this way, you essentially are combining 2 carbon strategies together to have, I would say, a more, I guess, complete strategy.
It's really interesting how you can, like, you don't have the full visual of them right there, right? But when you've got that gap in the middle, you can see like, okay, this is where my concentrated liquidity position is. Now, if it goes out of range, I can still capture those trades, right? I'm seeing this Celo CCAS notification pop up at the bottom that these are being traded.
Yeah.
These are all active trades right now, right? Can you, will you run one of these simulations for me with the Kenyan shilling?
Sure.
I find it interesting. This was one that was highlighted when the simulator was announced. And I think it would actually be fun. Markus, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but if you want to participate in this, you absolutely can. Will you go back to, let's do CUSD?
CUSD. Actually, let me flip these around. CUSD.
Yeah, however you want. Let's see. Can you go back to like 90 days or something like that?
Yeah, let me go back 90 days here.
Just so we can get a little bit more of like the bigger picture. Okay, so this to me is like this is attractive because you can see that it's got a little bit of volatility, right? Where ideally, like you're looking at this and you're kind of thinking, okay, obviously you can't capture these trades from, back over the last 60 days, 90 days, year, whatever it happens to be. But where would I ideally want to put my ranges? Glenn, is that where you would put yours?
Yeah, I mean, given this, you can probably do something like that, I would say, right?
That's a big range. So the bigger the range, the more funds you have to contribute, right?
Yeah, the bigger, I would say, in general, the bigger the range, the more you're spreading out your liquidity. So you definitely want to provide more liquidity if it's a wider range.
Okay.
Correct. But, this chart is essentially, you can see that it has, I would say, a lot of volatility. Like even like down here, like you see like some of these like wicks and some of these wicks, right? So there's a lot of like volatility for the Kenyan shilling against a US dollar backed stablecoin, right? So Yeah, you can certainly trade this right on Carbon, contribute some funding here. We'll just see what it looks like. I'll do 10 of that, maybe similarly 1,000 Kenyan shilling, which is about seven or $8, right? And then just see how this does, right, over time. Let me simulate this.
Okay, so you got 20%. So this is where I have fun with the simulator, because I constantly want to learn about how I can become a better trader, how I can actually put my funds like to use and get the highest returns on that, right?
For sure.
Okay, so you got 20%. Markus, you want to play?
Absolutely. No, that is like super exciting. And the cool thing here is like when we launched the Kenyan shilling, we've been in Kenya on the ground. And actually what you can see here, this like that there are phases of high volatility against the dollar is the reason why people on the ground actually would prefer to get a loan in Kenyan shilling, because if you need to get a loan to build your business, you don't want to bear exactly that FX risk, and therefore you want to get the loan in local currency. But for a trader, this volatility is super exciting because you can actually go into exactly these use cases. And now there are like indefinite pairs you could check out. You could now check out what is, for example, the Kenyan shilling against the Brazilian real. I learned in Kenya that there is like quite like a trading like corridor between Brazil and Kenya, also between South Africa and Brazil, between South Africa and Kenya. And when there's like active trading, then obviously there's also like the FX market is active in these corridors. So it's, I think, really, really exciting that you now can actually here backtest, see what the strategy would yield, and then you can engage. That's really cool.
Well, in a lot of these areas, like I wrote about this and we kind of spoke about it previously, I don't know about the specific areas that you're in, right? But I think a lot of this local, like digital, like community currency, right? These stable coins are in high inflationary areas, right? And so to be able to get these loans in this digital currency, or to be able to, even trade them against whatever you choose to trade it against, and hopefully not just have that sort of currency and know that you can pay your loan back in this currency, but hopefully accumulate more, right? And I think with the simulator, this is where it's kind of giving that view into, it's almost like that window into how this might actually be possible versus just kind of guessing and checking with actual funds.
Absolutely. And it's actually, we're launching both in high inflationary areas where then it would make sense to get a loan in local currency because you have revenues in local currency, but also in areas where there's like really active, like for example, remittances corridors. We launched in the Philippines. There's like a lot of remittances going like to and from the Philippines, to and from the US, to and from Europe. And therefore, for example, Europe, Philippine peso is an interesting FX corridor, and US dollar, Philippine peso is an interesting FX corridor because there's a lot of money like going back and forth. So yeah, you can now actually check out all of these strategies, which is really cool.
It is really cool. Glenn, you have this one on. You want to, this is go ahead, C Real and CK. Okay.
Yeah, this is the real against Kenyan shilling because Markus was discussing it. So I wanted just to bring up the price chart in general, right? But yeah, I'm actually like kind of, I'm all of this stuff that's going on, right, with these stable coins. It's providing like a good provides a good utility, right? I think Markus talked about some of these currencies have high inflation, right? A lot of the times, what people want to do is they might not want to keep their savings in that local currency because their money gets devalued over time. So now all of a sudden, what they can do is they can essentially swap that currency on chain for something that's more favorable, whether that is like euros, US dollars, or reals. This is sort of available for them, right? And I want to say last year I was in Argentina, this was a problem because if you live there, they had like capital controls as to how many Argentinian pesos you could swap to US dollar like every month. So people, what they ended up doing is some of them, they ended up going into these like money caves, right, to swap it via not the official methods. And also because via the official methods, you tended to get a worse exchange rate than if you would go via these like caves where you'd actually swap your funds, right?
Caves?
So, yeah, they call them cuevas. So this is where you take your US dollars and you swap to Argentinian pesos and vice versa. You tend to get what's called like the blue rate, which is a little bit better than the official government exchange rate. I'm not sure, things might have changed now since the new president, but this was last year, right? But in general, I would say having the capability for any person, right, that's living in one of these countries to be able to like swap to another currency of their choice easily without having like high spreads, right? They can essentially now do this on chain, whether that's through Carbon, right? If you want to sort of swap your funds through Carbon via a limit or a range order, you can easily do that, right? Or if you just want to use like an aggregator on chain to like swap through whatever liquidity pools are available, you can also do that as well, right?
Glenn, let's experiment for a minute with this one.
Sure.
Let's really quickly, I know we have like 4 minutes, so
Yep.
maybe I'm pushing it here. But if you were to just do small ranges, a small sell up on top of this right here, right? You can see where the majority of this trading is occurring. Like actually get in there, right? So they're not overlapping, but it's like once it leaves the buy range, it goes into the sell range. Once it leaves the sell, it goes into the buy. Right.
Something
so like
that, right?
Yeah. Something like this, or even move like
Let me just throw.
I'm curious how this would play out versus a concentrated liquidity position, because this, here they're not overlapping, concentrated they are. And this is an interesting chart because even though it has those wicks, right, it seems to be pretty consistent.
Right. So this is what that would look like, right? With these two ranges that we chose, right? Certainly, you're up by like 4% almost, right? Dominated in Kenyan shilling, right? So this might be something that you want to do, right? As opposed to just holding Kenyan shilling, right? And it's a valid strategy, right? That you can essentially trade.
Yeah. What if you did a concentrated liquidity position?
Let's do that. I think.
Just curious how it would play out. I feel like this is the whole point of the simulator. What does it look like?
Play out, right. So we can do something like that, right? Let me see. Let me pick the range for most of the time it has traded, right? I would say that looks pretty good there. Just at 1% here. To make this lower or higher, right? Up to you. Let me contribute some funding here. Start the simulation. So that's it's a little bit higher, close to like 4.57.
I figured because it was just that like sort of consistent, you know what I mean, trading profile. It wasn't super volatile, right?
Yeah, these they do have some wicks, but for the majority of this time period, it's been in this range. Right, so that's probably good for a concentrated liquidity position, right? And then you can have some like buy low down here when you have these like wicks, and then sell high up here when you have those wicks, right?
I don't think we have the Philippine peso yet. Is there a lot of trading history on the Philippine peso? When was that? A few weeks ago? A month ago? I'm terrible at time.
It was just a few weeks. It's relatively new, but I also don't know the exact launch date.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it wasn't very long ago. I remember seeing the tweet and like the announcement. I remember having you on right after. So we'll keep an eye out for that too. Once there's some trading history on there, we'll have that on the simulator. But other than that, as long as it's a live token, hopefully we'll see some strategies and some trading with that on Carbon DeFi as well in the meantime.
Absolutely. And we're now launching a bunch of new currencies as well. So there's Ghanaian cedi and the Colombian peso now, like is coming very soon. Then the community is looking into a Swiss franc, a Mexican peso, a South African rand, and a bunch of more currencies. So I think now, the whole community is working to give you more assets to add there too.
That's amazing. I'm excited to hear. I know it's the top of the hour. I had a personal story I won't bore you with, but I moved from Mexico and I have family in Mexico and businesses in Mexico. And so, I always speak with everybody down there, and I have a friend who is going through some things with the bank and trying to get around it. And when you said Mexican peso, it was like all of their problems would have been solved. You know what I mean? If they had this sort of digital currency, like this local, you know what I mean? Digital currency. So anyway, super excited for everything that you guys are doing. Glenn, super excited for the simulator. Thank you so much for doing this showcase with us, and Markus for joining. Are there anything you guys want to add? I don't want to just quick cut us off. I don't want to keep you too much longer though either. I do appreciate your time.
So from my side, just like everyone should check this out. Isn't like expanding the range of tools available to traders significantly. So people should really check this out. It's really cool.
Thank you so much. Glenn, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would say from our side, we have multiple social channels out there, Twitter, Telegram, Discord, we have forums, etc. Right? So if you have any questions about Carbon or need help with using the protocol, feel free to hop onto our channels and just ask us questions there. You'll find that a lot of our community members are more than happy to help you with what you need help with, right? Also happy to talk to other projects that are building on Celo, right? Whether you are doing like a stable coin, a governance token, a meme coin, whatever type of token you're actually, minting or bringing on chain, more than happy to talk to you as well, and how we can potentially help you with Carbon and essentially source some of that liquidity for your token. So yeah, happy
and
to.
Not just bringing these on, right? This isn't just new tokens. This is existing token projects as well, right?
For sure. New projects or existing projects.
You've got a token called Glenn.
Yeah, you have a token. Please reach out to us, right? We're more than happy to work with you and see what Carbon can do for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. Markus, will you guys be in DevCon?
Yes, certainly.
Or in Thailand for DevCon?
Yes, we will be at DevCon. You can meet the Mento Labs team there. You can either like follow us on Twitter at Mento Labs, and you can then also chat with us at DevCon. Like CTOs there, like a bunch of folks from the engineering team are there. I will be there, so happy to chat with the community there as well.
Well, and we look forward. I mean, I know I look forward to it. I'll be there as well. So I look forward to chatting with you IRL and meeting some others from Mento.
Yes, finally
and I know
IRL.
You'll be there.
For sure. More than happy to make some intros IRL, Markus, at
Perfect.
and just catch up.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much again. And thank you to all of the viewers. My DMs are always open. So send me any questions. And get in the channels. Carbon DeFi XYZ is what it is on Telegram. If you have any questions or just want to share your simulations, tag us on X and let us see what you're playing with. Thank you guys. We will talk to you soon.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Bye.
guys.
Take care.
Thank you.